Welcome back, guys, to yet another interview. Today I have here with me Eddie, one of the best level creators in LittleBigPlanet. Could you go ahead and just tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. My name's Eddie Hyman. I'm on PlayStation Network. They call me Hymanator. That's my screen name. I got that same screen name across the board, like on Steam, Xbox, and you name it. And I've been playing LittleBigPlanet since the very first one released. I remember seeing like the E3 show for it where they're all riding on the skateboard and the whole audience was laughing. And I just like fell in love with the game as soon as I saw it. Like I couldn't wait to get it. And I was like an Xbox player at first, and then LittleBigPlanet made me like switch, gears to playing on PlayStation more. And because I was like one of the first games I could think of where you could create content for it. So yeah, I was just hooked immediately. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm 45 years old. I've been married for 23 years. I got 3 kids. So I'm an older gamer. Like I was already like 29 or 30 years old by the time the game came out. So, but yeah, my kids are grown up now. I got a 29-year-old, a 23-year-old, and a 13-year-old. So, and part of the reason I was making so many levels is just kind of have something fun to do with my kids. I was making content for them to play along with. So it was just something I just did purely out of just fun. I wasn't like trying to get fame or anything crazy from it, but it was just like a side effect for just making something I just love to make. So
wow, that's awesome. And of course, in terms of the fact that you've made all these wonderful levels, even with them being made with your kids and all that, I think it would be nice to sort of talk about maybe a little bit some of the general aspects of some of the levels you've made, specifically the Pet Sackboy levels. Can we talk about, say, Pet Sackboy, Pet Sackboy 2, and Pet Sackboy 3 from LittleBigPlanet 1 specifically? What gave you the idea to make those levels?
That one, my daughter had a pet hamster. She named it Muffy, and we got this little red and green cage. And so we decided just to kind of like, make a hamster cage. This was like really early when I was making the content in LittleBigPlanet. I wasn't really sure if I could even make a level. We were just kind of just making toys and trinkets in create mode. And so I just made the hamster cage. And then I'm like, well, let's make the table for it to sit on. Well, let's make a chair. Let's make the floor. Hey, what if we just make a stove? I just started one by one, just adding more and more furniture pieces. And then before you know it, I had like an entire level. And I'm like, holy crap. And I wasn't sure exactly how to end the level, but I thought it was just like a cute, like, what if I just made you just return home to your cage, because you love your owner. And so it just went full circle. And yeah, and I got a real big reaction out of it. It never was a team picked level, but even though it wasn't, many people remembered it. And I've even had people approach me at like my kids' birthday parties, some kids like, wait, you made that? Like they couldn't believe it. And also couldn't believe I was like an older guy that made it. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, like that was just such a loved series. I just started making like a Pet Sackboy 2 and a 3. And eventually it was like a staple. Like anytime a new LittleBigPlanet came out, I felt like I wanted to make a new one. So even on the PSP version, I made one, and PS Vita. And LittleBigPlanet Karting, I made a Pet Sackboy kitchen race. And we were racing around the kitchen. I'm trying to think of, I've just always been messing with it. I'm trying to think of all the other ones I made. Like even outside of the game, like on Sound Shapes, I made like a knockoff and I called it Pet Sound Shape Ball. And then, I had someone at PlayStation mention it on one of their tweets. I thought that was pretty cool. And then on Meta Horizon Worlds, I got a Quest 3 headset, and I started prototyping an idea to make a Pet Sackboyish type of game on there. Ever since LittleBigPlanet servers shut down, I've been trying to find other places to create stuff for. So, but yeah, that's about everything with Pet Sackboy. Yeah, it's been like a favorite thing to make. Yeah, if I had like the time and energy, I would like to make some like a professional game around a similar concept. But it's kind of tough when you're growing up and you got bills to pay. So
yeah. No, that's actually a great story behind those levels. And I'm curious, when you're doing level design as a community creator, do you typically follow the sort of process that developers might follow in creating levels, like doing gray boxing and then doing the motifs, or is it kind of just put it all together and see if it looks nice at the end of the day? What's kind of the process?
I don't really have a universal process. Like sometimes I just throw something at a wall and see what sticks. Mm-hmm. There are some where I would try to be more complicated with it. Like I made in LittleBigPlanet 2, I made a remake of Choo Choo Rocket. I don't know if you ever heard of that game on the Dreamcast.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a 4-player. That one, like, you have all these mice all over the field, and you have to like steer them into your base, and you're steering cats into your enemies' bases, and you have to place arrows everywhere. And yeah, for that one, that's like a super logic heavy one, and I had to like visualize how I was going to do the logic. So yeah, I'd grab a sketchbook and try to map out how I would do that. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other things where I would maybe like some later Pet Sackboy levels. Like once I made the first one, that was sort of like my template. And then, I would start like kind of storyboarding a little bit, like, just sketch out like a big house in a sketchbook to try to visualize where everything goes. Because it is a lot easier to create when you know ahead of time what you should be making. But so yeah, sometimes it's fun just to like make an invention. Like Sack to the Future, like it was my Back to Future trilogy I made in the LittleBigPlanet 1 mainly. And that one I originally did something very similar as Pet Sackboy, where I just wanted to make a DeLorean. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. The DeLorean works. I'm like, hey, what if I can make it time travel? And then I made it the dissolve effect where it dissolves in front of you. But yeah, then I decided to make a whole level around that. But so that's kind of how it always started. I would just kind of just make something small, and I'd just keep adding to it until it felt like a level was there. And then, and I would be very skeptical of publishing anything until I felt it was ready. Like I always believe in first impressions, and if you try to like just rush a beta version out, and their first impression will be a sloppy beta. So I was like, I would really like to polish things up. Even if it's not the prettiest, like if I felt the gameplay was really good, then I could still publish it. Like my fighting game series, or not series, but I've only made 2 of them, I think. Super LBP Fighter 2. I don't know if that was like a team pick level of mine. And that one was pretty cool. I just wanted to make like a fighting game. And it was just something I was just making in like one evening, just like I was just like staying up really late over the weekend, and I just made like a Ryu and a Ken, and this is right when LittleBigPlanet 2 released. And the story behind that one's kind of cool. Like there's a boxing level I made that led up to that game. In LittleBigPlanet 1, it was called like LBP Sports Boxing. And there was no controlinator in LBP 1, if you remember. So there was only grab blocks. But I made these giant boxing rock'em sock'em bots, and I made it so if you grab the left side, it punches with your left, and if you grab the right side, you punch with the right. And I put the Sackboy in each boxer's head. And so when LittleBigPlanet 2 came out, I took those boxers and I was like, hey, what if I just put a Controlinator in these boxers? And then I realized I could make them like with legs and have like a full thing. And so the first prototype was actually the boxing game. But then I was like, wait, I can make them kick? And I'm like, well, okay, that goes beyond the scope of boxing. And then that's when I kind of converted it into being like a Street Fighter type of a game. And the funny thing was, like, that kept breaking. Like their arms would fall off, a head would fall off, and I was getting aggravated with it. But then after a while, when it happened, I was like just laughing hysterically when it happened. And it felt like a happy accident. And I'm like, if this is making me laugh, I have a feeling the community is going to love it. And then I just published it at like 5 a.m. and I was just staying up super late. And then when I got up the next day, my inbox was just blowing up. Like I was just getting messages left and right from the LittleBigPlanet community because the creation was a hit apparently. So, and then it became like team picked like almost immediately. And I was just like shocked. Like I never imagined I would ever be team picked for anything. And then I made a sequel to that where I decided to make like a full roster of characters and a character select screen. And it was kind of funny when I uploaded that one, Media Molecule, like they took the team pick away from my first one and put it on the new one I made instead. Like, wait, this is better. It's like, so I got a different team pick on the other one. So yeah, that was like the last current team pick one was I called it Super LBP Fighter 2 Turbo Tournament Edition. I gave like a real long name to make fun of like the old Capcom games. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. But yeah, that was probably like what gave me the most popularity was being team picked on there, which is really cool because it ended up like funneling people into looking at my other creations. And yeah, and that's probably how they found like Pet Sackboy and the other things.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of sentiment behind that. And of course, in terms of making these levels and getting them recognized by the community, as you mentioned, Media Molecule, ended up doing some team picking. And in doing that, of course, Sony eventually, ended up, having their attention grabbed by your creations as well. And we know Osvaldo, and he said getting interviewed by Sony was one of the weirdest but coolest experiences ever. I want to know, how did it feel for you to be interviewed by Sony alongside Osvaldo?
Oh yeah, that was a very surreal experience. Yeah, I got contacted by them, and yeah, it was when they were promoting the new release of LittleBigPlanet 3. Yeah, just they had a whole TV crew, show up and just got all the lighting and cameras and everything out, and yeah, and the whole process, I think it took maybe like 6 hours. Yeah, my wife couldn't believe it. Like she felt like I was suddenly turning into a celebrity, and yeah, it was really surreal. Yeah, gosh, it was so long ago. I can't remember like everything about it, but yeah, it was cool. And yeah, I remember I became friends with the guy that was interviewing me. We were starting chatting a lot on Twitter and things like that, and yeah, it was pretty neat. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. It was a first taste of like, man, this is like something that's I would like to take serious one day.
Right. I'm curious, what are some other obscure levels that you maybe made in the community that you'd like people to know about?
Obscure levels. Let's see here. Kevin Butler wear. I'm trying to like look through my old levels of mine. Like, I don't know if you remember the old Kevin Butler commercials. I made like a combination of like him mixed with like Nintendo's WarioWare. That one was just cool. I made that one Little Big Planet 1, and I made it so you have these little arenas pop up, and you just get just thrown with like a weird quick micro mini game, like saw a tree in half, or just random like think fast games. And I made a randomizer, even though that didn't exist in Little Big Planet 1, where I had this, like, behind the scenes, I had this giant wheel that's rotating, and I had these balls with individual chips on it, and it would trigger the certain micro game to hit. So I made like a mechanical randomizer, basically. Like, so behind the scenes, it was like really complicated. But yeah, I'm trying to think of other ones. Like, I'd always try to, like, whenever I made levels, I tried to just not just make a standard platformer, like, except Pet Sackboy was an exception. That was a very platformy one. But outside of that, I started trying to think more outside the box, and make like sports games. I tried to make the boxing one where it just hid the player entirely. Yeah. I made a RoboCop one, and I made like a giant like mechanical RoboCop that walked and could shoot. I'm trying to think of like other ones. Yeah, Little Big Planet 3, I made one of the last levels I made before the server shut down. I think I made like it was called Block Race to the Top. And that one was you have like these Tetris pieces, and you have to stack them, and if you stack it to the top first, you'd win. It was kind of like a tribute to Tricky Towers. I don't know if you ever played that before. But yeah, you're just like stacking Tetris pieces, and I made it like a 4-player game, and you could kind of interfere and knock your pieces into your friends to try to knock their tower down. So it's kind of like pretty fun concept. Little Big Planet Karting, Pet Sackboy Kitchen Race was under the radar. LBB Karting was that was a frustrating game, because like I loved it, but I felt like it was just sent out to die. Like I don't know if you remember much about it, but
yeah,
it kind of felt like the levels were never curated. Like anything that got published wouldn't appear on cool levels. You'd always see the same 5 levels no matter what, and so it just felt like the moderation and the curation was just gone. So like whenever people would upload a level, like no one would play it or notice it, and I think that caused the community to fade away. And then they pulled the plug on the server for that prematurely. Right. And so yeah, I wish more people were able to play my Pet Sackboy Kitchen Race map, because I think they would have enjoyed it. But it was just hidden. You'd have to go out of your way to search for it, and not many people knew to. And that's part of the reason why I started making like a website for myself and my YouTube channel, just to see if people could find and discover my levels that way. I was just, I was just making my website, my YouTube, just to kind of draw attention to the levels I made. I wasn't seeking like fame or fortune or anything like that. I was just like, hey, look, I made this. Just here's my portfolio work. But yeah, I'm trying to think of anything obscure besides that. I have made stuff outside of Little Big Planet, like I said, but like before Little Big Planet came out, I used to make maps on the original Half-Life and Half-Life 2, like for like deathmatch, things like that. So yeah. I've always been. My first computer was a Commodore 64. Like my favorite game on there was called a Pinball Construction Set, and you can make your own pinball layouts and things like that. So there was games even back then where you could create stuff for fairly easy. I don't even know how to code really. I just that's why I liked the Little Big Planet series so much. Is just I always loved the node logic of just chips and wires and circuit boards. Like that's more my language. Or, it's just what you see is what you get. And you just wire it and it works. And I wish they just would have like a game creation engine on PC that had those same kind of tools.
What do you think of the Little Big Planet community trends such as emo, obey swag, trilly, and the hero hairstyle.
Oh, I don't even know anything about that. Yeah. You got anything specific?
So do you happen to remember how back in the day, for example, the shark teeth hair, where people would use the shark teeth decoration on their hair, because there weren't really any. I mean, you had hair pieces, but I guess maybe some of them didn't look cool enough. So one guy's like, "Okay, I'll just put this shark teeth and stuff."
Oh, like when they decorate their sack boys, they talk about that trend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so most of the time when I played, I was playing along with just my kids or my just closest friends. I didn't really mingle too much with online random people. So yeah, I guess that's a lot of that stuff flew under my radar. So yeah, I won't really have much of a opinion on it, but. Yeah, a lot of people did take a lot of pride in their sack boys. They would just, come up with some crazy looking designs. And yeah, and my character, I would have him with a ball cap and just something basic. I didn't really go too crazy with decorating my character that much. But yeah, it's kind of funny how the community can really just take hold of just a very specific aspect. That was one of my favorite things about LittleBigPlanet, though, was the emoting in general, just the way you can kind of convey emotion, make your character smile, laugh, or get angry, and the way you can do the acting with the triggers and the analog sticks at the same time. And that was a really clever thing. Yeah, it was really neat, how you could dress up your character, though. I remember, just tinkering with that, a lot. But yeah, just at the end of the day, though, I was just more consumed with just level creation. So yeah, and not so much decorating my sack boy.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. I mean, I was in the same boat. I didn't really decorate a lot. I mean, I made a couple of costumes here and there, but it was just for fun. So
yeah, I think the coolest one I might have made was Ninja Turtles. When it crossed my mind to make a Ninja Turtle level, and because I was one of my favorite things growing up was the 1990s Ninja Turtles, and early 80s or late 80s, I should say. And I did try to make a set of them, for LittleBigPlanet 2, but I scrapped the idea. I was I don't know if anyone appreciates Ninja Turtles anymore. So.
That's fair. Well, so talking about favorites a bit, what would you say is your favorite LittleBigPlanet game out of the whole franchise?
Out of the whole franchise, probably LittleBigPlanet 2. It just felt like the director's cut of everything that they wanted to be in the first one is in the second one. It just felt like the best of. LittleBigPlanet 3 had better logic tools to work with, but the LittleBigPlanet 3 just had such a buggy state that when it was released, I've had that profile corrupt thing several times, and that was just frustrating, where I was right when that came out, I bought that game, immediately when it was released, and I would just lose all my progress, and yeah, just the level I was working on, I'd lose all my work, and oh man, I got to start over now. Yeah, it was, and then I learned the hard way. I got to make more frequent backups of my profile, and so. But yeah, LittleBigPlanet 2 would definitely be the best one, I would say. I also just love there was some cool add-ons for that, the cross controller pack where you could compare your PS Vita to it. So you can make games similar to what the Wii U had. And, I wanted to work on a level that involved that, but it just felt like a missed opportunity, just because not many people were aware of it, or it just, so I felt discouraged to make anything, because you'd probably be lucky if 50 people would play it, so
yeah. What would you say is your favorite LittleBigPlanet level? And this can be, I guess this should be a twofold question. What would you say is your favorite Little Big Planet story mode level, and what's your favorite community level?
Whew. I think just the very first level of Little Big Planet 1, that just kind of just set the tone. It's just very like warm and friendly, and it introduces you to the creators, and I just love the big introduction it had. And favorite levels, like one that blew me away. It was just a long time ago. It was when someone made a mechanical calculator in Little Big Planet 1, and the guy just did like basic arithmetic, like 2 + 5, and he pulls a switch and it said the answer, and then he flew on his jetpack to show all the mechanical logic that went into making that. That was pretty mind blowing, and yeah, it'd be biased to pick one of my own levels, of course, but my son made a level called the Burger Factory. He it was the only level he ever made, and he got like a huge reaction from it online. He came up with this concept of making like a spoof of like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but with cheeseburgers. And you go into this giant factory where people are making burgers, and you're going on tour, but then you get derailed from the tour and you go behind the scenes, and then you see, and then it turns into like a horror game out of nowhere where you see like sack boys are getting like chopped up into burgers. And it was a pretty funny idea. And he would ask me for help just with just logic problems he was running into. So it was like it was kind of a cool bonding moment with me and him, just making a level together. And I don't know if anyone ever made a video of it online. I never got around to but yeah, I think that calculator level though was like the coolest thing I saw. But yeah, some people would just make some real impressive stuff later on in Little Big Planet 2, especially when they discovered like the 3D layer glitch and doing like the first person shooters. And Steve Big Guns, he made some of the craziest things I've ever seen. And it's cool that he got hired by Media Molecule and at Sumo Digital, and to just based off the stuff he's made. And it's kind of neat. The same with you. Like how you got a career based off of everything in Little Big Planet. I wish more games would be, or would come out, or if they make a Little Big Planet 4, because it's really an important series that can grow careers, or unlock the creativity in everybody's brains. It just allows you to kind of think outside the box, and there's just not enough games that support being creative these days.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, in terms of being creative, a lot of the reasons some people were able to make great levels is also because of the DLC packs that were available. Think Pirates of the Caribbean back in Little Big Planet 1, when, people just didn't have water. They made water using those little pieces of sponge and colored them blue. But as soon as water came along, you had shark survivals, and you had tsunami survivals. A lot of interesting ways to use water in the game. And so I want to ask you, what would you say is your favorite Little Big Planet DLC?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I wish I could see like a list of them in front of me. But I think the water DLC might have been it. I mean, like the cross controller one would have been, like I said, if more people would have like appreciated it, or if they advertised it better or something, I think that would have been huge, because being able to like have asynchronous gameplay between the Vita and the PS3, that would have been huge. But I took advantage of that water update. Like in a Pet Sackboy level, I made like a scene in Pet Sackboy 2, I think it was, where like you go into the bathroom and you can accidentally like turn on the bathtub and flood the floor of the bathroom. And then I had like a toy speedboat and things like that. So you had to like navigate the flooded house. Like, yeah, it definitely added some cool gameplay elements to it. It's hard to think of like some major DLC that they had, but I think the water one probably would have been the coolest.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier shark survivals and all that, and of course bomb survivals as well. I want to know, what's your opinion on copied levels?
Yeah. I mean, like I felt like I birthed the Mortal Kombat level craze, because I made the Street Fighter fighting, the Super LBP fighter. Of course, Mortal Kombat is the answer to Street Fighter. So like a few days later, after my Street Fighter series games came out, someone made a Mortal Kombat level and they made it copyable. And then next thing you know, you'd see like 1,000 different knockoffs of Mortal Kombat, all with the same bots that, different music and themes around it. But I mean, I didn't mind it. The thing I just never liked was plagiarism. Like when people would go, "Oh, I made this," when they clearly didn't. That's just like a dishonest thing, and it's part of the reason why I don't like AI generated stuff. Is because it just feels like plagiarism. Like you're saying you made it when the AI tool did. And you didn't really put much input into it. But I don't mind things being copyable, because you can learn from it. Like if people would make tools and templates for kids to learn off of, and they could deconstruct how it was made. That's important for learning. Just to have something. But it's just the saying of like a spoiled apple ruining a bunch. Someone will be dishonest and just republish what they copied and not even like do anything at all to change it, so it's one of those things I have mixed feelings on.
And understandably so. I mean, when I was in the community, I didn't really mind copied levels as a kid, because I was just a kid, play levels, whatever, make stuff, make cool things, that's the kid way. But another aspect of LittleBigPlanet are the profile pins. Can you remember maybe what were some of your favorite pins in the game?
Yeah, I think so. I remember I did get a pin for being team picked, and I was like, whoa, team pick pin, that just showed up on my profile. And I remember finding that being really cool. And yeah, another one that surprised me, it was 500,000 unique players played your level or something like that. And I had a pin for that. And yeah, I was like, whoa, there's a pin for having 500,000 players. Like, it makes you wonder how many people got to have a pin like that one. And yeah, I can't really think of too many other ones. Like it would have been cool to get the crown. I never did get one of those. I think there might be a pin for having one of those, but yeah, that's. And I was hearted by 43,000 players on my profile, and I thought that was pretty crazy. And I think there might have been a pin associated with that, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember. I mean, as of recent, I think Imataka ended up becoming the most hearted person in the community with over 200,000 hearts.
Wow.
So yeah, pretty fascinating when you think about it. Do you think Sackboy Big Adventure was a step in the right direction for the franchise?
No, not really. I bought the game, but I didn't really play it. I was just like, I watched my son play a little bit of it, and then I saw some video footage of people playing it, but it doesn't have a create mode, so it kind of automatically makes it just a generic platformer. And the other charm about the older LittleBigPlanet games that a lot of people don't really talk about is the music. Like they did a terrific job just curating really good independent music artists on the original games. And Sackboy Big Adventure, it kind of seemed like they were leaning into a lot more, AAA, pop music and stuff like, that I didn't really care about. So, it just kind of felt like a corporate cash grab, soulless type of sequel in a way.
Yeah, that's fair. And about independent music artists, little tidbit for you. 2 days ago, we actually interviewed Jim Noir, the creator behind My Patch.
Oh, wow.
The most played songs in the community. If you've played a lot of the community levels. So that was cool. So in case you're a fan of him, we'll be having that on the channel soon as well. Now, going back more so into kind of level design and the more technical aspects of LittleBigPlanet, I'd like to ask, do you think LittleBigPlanet 3 was in a bad spot because most power-ups in LittleBigPlanet 2 were essentially replaced by the abilities of Toggle, Swoop, and Oddsock? Do you think they complemented the existing power-ups in terms of level design, or did they become kind of redundant?
Yeah, the whole the addition of those characters was very strange, and it didn't really click. Some of the characters, did feel like unnecessary. Toggle was kind of interesting, just where you could change size, and Oddsock, it was just like, you can run fast and jump off walls. I don't know. And then, the power-ups in LittleBigPlanet 3 is a whole another issue, though. Like, I remember some of just like the collectibles in that, or collectibles, I guess they're called. I remember like when my profile became corrupt and I restored my profile, like some of the stuff you collect was cloud-based and the other stuff was local to your save file. And it created a conflict where I couldn't complete the game. So like, I remember that being a big problem. The whole thing with LittleBigPlanet 3 felt like a mess. And I tried experimenting, making levels around the new characters. Like I did make a Pet Sackboy level theme, and I called it Pet Toggle. And it was just kind of like a fish out of water thing where I just took Toggle and just put him in my first Pet Sackboy level, just as a kind of a gag to see how he would interact with an old level that I made. And it was just like, it's cool and all, but it's just, I don't know. I felt like Sackboy's enough, personally.
Yeah. That's fair. With your Pet Toggle level that you mentioned, did you do anything differently that made it stand out aside from just swapping out Sackboy with Toggle? Or was it kind of just the same level, just with Toggle? Nothing else changed?
It was mostly the same, except for the puzzles. I try to lean into what Toggle could do. Like when you escape the cage, I think I made it so you had to be small to get through the tube, but large to break the viewing, piece down. And then at the end, originally Pet Sackboy would grab a jetpack and fly home to his cage, but I was like, wait, you can't wear a jetpack. So I just had some like fluffy cotton pieces, and I made it so you had to be small version of Toggle while grabbing the cotton pieces, and it would like kind of, you'd be able to fly in the air holding onto the cotton pieces. And I was just trying to think outside the box. Like, how am I going to do this? But that was like the best I could come up with at the time. So I had concept ideas with like the other characters, but I just didn't get around to making those levels. And then before you know it, the server was having issues, and just prolonged downtime, and I was just like, oh man, I still had a couple ideas left in me, but just the server was being so flaky, and then eventually unplugged completely, and I just kind of gave up on those ideas. But yeah, it would be kind of cool, like if going on the new server, maybe I could put them on there.
Now, going back to Pet Sackboy, you did mention that you made one in Little Big Planet Karting. Can you talk about like kind of what you maybe had to do differently with the level design of Pet Sackboy in the context of karting compared to the, mainline Little Big Planet games? What did you have to adjust about your approach to make it work with the whole racing idea?
It wasn't really too hard for the concept itself. It's because since it's a karting game, you're limited with just that concept of racing. So it's just, hey, it's got to make a racetrack and throw it in a kitchen. But, creating in a full 3D environment versus like a 2.5D environment, that did lend some challenges. So yeah, learning how to create, and that was definitely a learning curve. But yeah, Little Big Planet Karting did seem like it was like a reskin of Mod Nation Racers. Like it seemed like it was the same development team and everything. And I was playing Mod Nation Racers before, so I felt like I was able to pick up pretty quickly. If it just felt like Mod Nation Racers create mode with the Little Big Planet node logic thrown into the create mode. So I kind of felt right at home, and I was able to make stuff pretty fast. But yeah, like I guess some of the challenges were, like I wanted to be able to drive on top of like the kitchen counters and on top of the fridge and on the tabletops and then to the floor. So yeah, I had to come up with some ramp ideas, and I was trying to like not rely on the built-in tracks. So I would have like a giant, ironing board to drive up that was like leaning on, and so like the kitchen was like a big mess and disarray. Like a sink full of dishes, and you could, use the dishes as a ramp to jump across the sink. So yeah, like being able to like traverse over those obstacles was pretty challenging. And I had some Easter eggs where if you could launch on a ramp on top of a toaster, and the toaster would spit out a piece of bread and launch you with it, to get like a little bit of a shortcut. I had some fun ideas like that. And yeah, I did make a second Little Big Planet Karting idea. It wasn't even a race. So, I try to make something. It's on my website. You could probably pull it up later. But I made like a first person shooter for Little Big Planet Karting, because I learned that you can make emitters. And I'm like, oh, wow, I can make you can put the camera anywhere you want. So, and you can remodel your own custom cart. So I made a cart that looked like a giant player model, with the stance holding a gun. And then I put the camera on the chest, so it would be the first person view of like you holding your gun. And then if you can then like pull the trigger and like, make it shoot rockets out of the gun. And yeah, and I made like a test arena where you can just play like a first person shooter deathmatch in Little Big Planet Karting. And I was surprised how well it worked. I was going to try to adapt and evolve that into something more polished, but like I said, the level curation was broken, and everything I made was just invisible. So I was just, yeah, never mind. I'm not going to waste my time for an audience of 0.
Yeah, it's fair. I'm curious. Do you still watch any Little Big Planet stuff on YouTube? Are you still watching and interested in the game, or have you moved on to different titles?
Yeah, coincidentally, like I was watching one of your videos, because I'm friends outside of Little Big Planet with Steven Belcher, known as Steve Big Guns. Yeah, he sent me a friend request a long time ago on PlayStation Network, complimenting my levels, and he was just a fellow creator at the time, and then like way later down the road, he sent me a message like, "Hey man, I got a job offer. I don't know what I should do," and I'm like, "You better jump on that. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity." And he took the offer, and yeah, we keep in touch here and there online, just like on the social media and things like that. But but Little Big Planet still lives in my heart. It's I don't believe in tattoos, but if I were to get one, it'd probably be of Sackboy or something. But yeah, it's one of those things I just wish they would revive, in one shape or another. But I'm glad that you got your a side server that you can rely on, and hopefully it's not too expensive to manage. But yeah, I mean, I would kill for like a Little Big Planet 4 or something like that. Like that's what Dreams was initially gonna be, and then they just like rethemed it into some generic, thing. But that's a whole nother topic.
Did you ever play Dreams?
Yeah, I was really excited for Dreams because the creation tools are very, based on like Little Big Planet's tools. It's just the problem I had with Dreams was there was just no multiplayer. I mean, local multiplayer, I guess, but that hurt it really bad. And I just wish it had Sackboy, or just like a core character to play. Like the core character in Dreams was just like Impy, a cursor. It was like, what? This is not really. It's not very kid friendly. You can't just jump in and just have something to play. You can't just like go into create mode and make a quick level and use your Sackboy equivalent. But instead, you have to like, use whatever default things they had. And they had like a marionette thing that you could run around with, but it was just not, it was just very bare bones. Like Dreams just kind of just felt like it needed a couple more years in the oven to be polished up, and they didn't have that time. Maybe they took too long making it, and Sony rushed them, said now or never, and so it kind of felt like it was just released, dead on arrival, unfortunately.
What's your opinion? I'm curious. Speaking of kind of like games that sort of end up breeding mascots that are maybe a little bit controversial, like because the Impy cursor, again, like you said, it wasn't really the main core. It didn't feel like character that you could connect to. I've heard a lot of people say, in their opinion, that Astrobot feels more, I don't know, at home compared to Sackboy as a character. I want to know what you think. What's your opinion on Astrobot taking Sackboy's place? Do you think Astrobot or Sackboy should be PlayStation's mascot? It's kind of like picking your favorite children. Like I don't see why you can't have both. I mean, I would love to see them both together in a game, if anything. I mean, like they both have their equal amount of charm. It reminds me of this meme I saw on Twitter or somewhere else. I can't remember, but someone did like the Little Big Planet, strange things are happening to me. And it showed like Sackboy being replaced. It's basically like Sackboy's Woody and Astrobot is Buzz Lightyear. I don't know. I just think they both just have like their equal charm. And if there was an Astrobot game that was made exactly like Little Big Planet with a create mode, I mean, I would be all for it, of course, but I just think Sackboy is just such a cool character just because like, I just like the fact that he doesn't talk, and I just kind of like the rustic old fashioned knit vibe that he has. And I think it's a cool contrast with Astrobot. So, I mean, yeah, that's why I think they both can exist together. Yeah. Did you ever play any Astro games? Yeah, I really love the one on PSVR. That was mind blowing, and I've dabbled with the new one. I just haven't really had the energy or free time to play it yet. I'm just trying to wait for a good chunk of free time to dive into it. But yeah, I've seen like a lot of video clips and I've read a few reviews, and it looks really good. I felt like, here, take my money. I just bought it just on principle without playing it yet.
just with no knowledge about it. But I can already tell it's going to be, a real good game. I just need to like devote some time to sit down with it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, is there anything else you would like to talk about that you'd like to share with the community, just in general? Something you'd like people to know?
Just general advice is just don't stop creating. If Little Big Planet is offline and there's no future one, just find some tool and learn it. Get like Blender, Unity, Unreal, the Godot or Godot. I don't know how you pronounce it. There's so many cool creation tools out there, and just never stop creating and just make cool stuff and show it off.
Yeah. What would you say your plans for the future are?
I got short-term goals and long-term goals. I mean, my short-term goals, of course, are mainly just keeping the bills paid, and so and long-term goals is I do want to make a game one day, just like an actual published one on in Steam or wherever. I am dabbling with making stuff on the Quest 3. I have like a prototype level that I published already. It's in Meta Horizon Worlds. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere, if they're going to pull the plug on it, but I made like a little test level in there called Hamster House, where I'm doing like sort of a Pet Sackboyish theming, where I want to make like a giant house to roam around in VR. But yeah, I've always loved video games since I was a kid, and even when I'm an old 70-year-old man, I don't imagine me putting a controller down ever. I'm just always going to play a game. So,
all right, Eddie, I've got one more thing for you. Which is better, Coke or Pepsi?
Okay, that's well, you see the shirt I'm wearing. I'm wearing a Back to the Future type of thing. I'm a Back to the Future fan, and I know they're all about Pepsi, so part of me is biased with Pepsi because of that. But I do tend to get Coke a lot more. So, I mean, I like Pepsi as a brand, and I like Coke for the taste. So I don't like. I'm a little bit torn. But at the end of the day, if it just comes to flavor and drinking a drink, probably Coca-Cola. So,
hey, that's fair. I mean, yeah, for me, it's always been both. Both are my favorite. If that's the option. So,
right, yeah. If you do the Pepsi challenge, I don't even know if I could distinguish them, to be honest. Some people say like, "Oh, Pepsi tastes flat" and whatnot. But yeah, you can even put store brand soda next to me. I probably wouldn't be able to tell. So.
Oh, really? I remember. What was it? Kenneth saying it. Kenneth Young, one of the composers, saying it tasted manufactured compared to Coke. It's artificial. Yeah. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Eddie Hyman. Again, it was a pleasure to have you on here for an interview and to get to know you better and to share your story being a Little Big Planet, having been a Little Big Planet community creator with people who have played your levels, especially Pet Sackboy and Sack to the Future and all those great, wonderful creations that you've made over the years, and just hearing the backstory behind them and kind of the inspirations has been really wonderful. And we look forward maybe in the future to doing a part 2 or something like that, in case A wants to know a little bit more, or if I want to know a little bit more. So yeah, it's been great having you on. And guys, make sure to stay tuned for more content as well as interviews coming soon in the coming weeks. And we will be, feeding you guys more Little Big Planet content. It will never stop. So make sure to stay tuned for that. All right. Peace.